Okay, we are recording. This is call one of 3 calls that we're having this week in what we are calling the Year to Shine series. And it's just for our Revolution family. So in case anybody was confused by that, it's not a corporate call. This is a call that Jamie and I, if you guys don't know Jamie, we waved to everybody. There she is, the smiley face in the Brady Bunch boxes here. She and I kind of put our brains together and we're like, what can we do to kick the year off? Because both of us are really into personal development and goal setting and really getting our head on straight at the beginning of the year. And how can we support you guys who are also interested in that in doing the same thing? So that's where this series of 3 calls came from. So to kind of recap for you what we'll be doing, tonight we will be doing call 1 on goal setting. Tomorrow night, Jamie will be doing call 2. And that call is really where you're going to take these goals and you're going to take this action plan. And then Jamie's going to kind of teach you how you're actually going to do the work in terms of booking and team building. So she's going to give you words, tips, strategies, ideas, really specific to this time of year and your goals. It's really like a how-to call and you don't want to miss it. So that's tomorrow night. Jamie, did I miss anything? Good? Okay. And then Sunday night, we are going to do kind of a recap Q&A, but really it's a fun call because we're calling it the commitment call, and it's where we are all going to come together and be like, okay, here's what I've decided for the year. And maybe you're the kind of person who wants to share that goal out loud. Maybe you're not. Either way, please join us on the call. We can cheer one another on. Some people not only like accountability, but they need it. And so to have some faces there to listen to the plans for the year and encourage them will be really, really meaningful and really, really great for our team. So that is what we're doing this week. And so tonight, I am going to talk to you guys about one of my very favorite topics. I'm also going to give you some info on the Jamaica trip because we haven't really covered in detail exactly what that includes. And you guys, have you guys looked at the website for the Jamaica resort yet? If you haven't, you need to get online and look at the Hilton, Rose, I think it's a Rose Hall Hilton, right? It is incredible. Like, and if you, this is going to sound kind of strange for like an adult incentive trip, but actually lots of people brought their families on the previous trip. Oh, there, Jamie's got it on her phone.
I follow them on Instagram now.
Oh, I should do that. Because that is awesome inspiration. And they have a full water park at this resort. So if you wanted to bring your kids, it looks like the perfect family spot. And if you didn't want to bring your kids, there's still a water park and we can be kids. So it looks like a really amazing location. So check that out. I'm really excited to chat with you about that. But this call is going to be kind of to the point, kind of swift. If you have any questions, let's hold them to the end so we can kind of plow through the material as far as the actual goal setting information goes. And just bear with me if you know I end up muting people, or if you want to talk, just I think the comment section would be a really great place for us to communicate. And I'll try to keep up on the chat. But if anybody wants to help me with that, fantastic. And the one thing I want to start the call by doing is challenging everybody with one very specific thing. And that is whatever happened in 2019, I hope that we can all let it go. Very, very frozen, right? Like let it go. But I say that because it could be something, it could have been an amazing year for you. You could have exceeded all of your goals for 2019. But the thing is, without a fresh plan and the right work ethic in 2020, your success in 2019 doesn't mean a whole lot, right? Same thing that may have happened is maybe 2019 didn't go the way you wanted it to. And you may have been really hesitant to even get on this call at all because you may have been wondering like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I don't even know if I have goals for the year. In that case, I think that it's vital that you let 2019 go because this is a clean slate, a fresh sheet of paper. I can't stress enough that every day can be day one in this business and you can succeed at any point at the snap of your fingers just because you decided now is the time. So my challenge to you is to go into this activity fearless, okay? In a mindset that whatever happened in 2019, good or bad, it does not define what's likely to happen in 2020. So That is kind of our state of mind walking into that. So I mentioned Jamaica. Let's talk about Jamaica first, because if you aren't familiar with what it takes to earn an incentive trip with Zaya, this could actually be a really big piece of your goal setting for the year. And so I want to make sure everybody's familiar with what that entails. So I'm going to actually screen share, and I have my, let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So here are the qualifications for the Jamaica trip. The trip is 3 nights paid for by the company. Okay, the dates are, I believe it's July 19th through the 22nd. Oh, the 17th through the 20th. There it is, right at the bottom of the screen. And basically, you can earn this trip in 3 levels. Now, the first thing I want to say is if you joined Zaya yesterday, you can earn this trip. Oh, you know what? I should remind you guys, if you haven't muted yet, will you go ahead and hit the mute button if you know where it is? It's down in the lower left-hand corner. That way we don't have any background noise for the call. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so first level of the trip is 55 points, and that is your room for 2 in Jamaica at this gorgeous Hilton resort. All right. Second level of the trip is 70 points, and that is the room plus $500 travel voucher. And basically what that means is the company is giving you an extra $500 deposit to help you pay for the flights, which you will actually book yourself. That way you can do, if you have any points you want to use or a certain airline you like to use. I love that they do it this way. They give us the money and we book the flight. And then the $85 level is a $1,000 travel voucher on top of your room for 2, which should cover the flights for you and your significant other, friend, whoever you'll be bringing. So you're like, okay, 55 points, 70 points, 85 points. How do you earn the points, right? Well, the breakdown is 2 points for each enrollment order. And when you hear the words enrollment order, that means somebody new that you are sponsoring, a new team member that you have directly brought onto your team. 4 points any month that you sell 2,500 in PV, personal volume. And then this is the kicker, guys. This is the big piece of the puzzle. If you're new to our Zaya family, then you may not be familiar with these terms 3x4. But we are rewarded in every way for hitting the 3x4 consistently. And what that is 3 new team members for the month, 3 new enrollments, and closing 4 parties. And those 4 parties have to have a minimum personal volume of $2,500. So if you do the 3 enrollments and the 4 parties for $2,500, that's a 3x4, and you earn an extra 10 points. So if you do the math on that, by hitting the 3x4, you're actually earning 20 points in a month. Now, the incentive trip period is January, February, and March. So you have 3 months. So if you hit the 3x4, 3 months in a row, boom, you're at 60 points right there. So my advice to you, if you want to go on this trip to Jamaica, I don't really see any way around it. You just need to do the 3x4. Right? Now, there are ways to make up for it, but the 3x4 is by far the easiest, most obvious way. It's just how you get it done. So that is how you earn the basic points. Now, you might be going, okay, that's only 60 points. So if I want to get to 85, how do I make up the extra points? Well, there are 2 ways to do it. The first way is through rank advancement. So at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see that you earn points for each rank advancement. Now, these are ranks that you hit in the months of January, February, and March. If you look at this, if you are brand new to our business, you are in an amazing position to earn, what is that, 17 points? To go from junior rep to director, that's 17 points right there. It's a crazy number of points. Go to senior director, 27 points. So when people say, I'm new, I'm not quite sure if I can do this, I would actually say you actually have an advantage being new. Now, the rest of us are going to earn the trip. This is not to say that it's not going to be just as doable for the rest of us, but being brand new and starting at the representative status, you actually have all of these ranks that you can climb, and these first 3 ranks you can climb rather quickly. So I think it's a really awesome situation that you're in as a brand new rep. Now, the second way that you can make up points is through additional enrollments. That is not capped. So every single time you have a new enrollment, it's 2 points. So the more people that you sponsor, the more points that you're going to have. And that is the entire point system right there. Now, the company did send out a tracker. Let me see if I can go back to our screen here. The company did send out a tracker that I thought was really neat, that you can actually print out and color in or write names in, that I think would be an awesome tool to keep at your desk for tracking purposes. I've already looked at it myself and I'm like, okay, I got to hit the 3x4, but I also have to do X, Y, and Z, hit this next rank, promote to, or recruit an extra 4 people. So you'll just have to play with that tracker and determine what your goal is and what your numbers are to hit. But in a nutshell, that is how Jamaica works. And from personal experience, there were 7 of us on the last incentive trip from our team. And I think I speak for everyone when I say you don't want to miss it. It's an amazing experience. It's not just amazing because it's a free vacation. It's amazing because of the community. It's amazing because you get to introduce your significant other to the community and to the company. And I think that's a really, really big deal. And it's just, they're amazing. And I know a lot of you are going to be on the trip, but I'm going to stop talking about it for now so we can move on. But before I segue here, does anybody have any questions about how the trip tracking for Jamaica works? We're good? Awesome. If you guys need help finding any documents, let me know. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We are going to jump right into goal setting for the year, what I told you we were going to do tonight. And really the game plan is we're going to reflect, we're going to analyze, we're going to spend some time developing goals and developing a plan, and you're going to know exactly what you need to implement. And then you're going to get on Jamie's call tomorrow night and you're going to have words to use and ideas. So hopefully by Thursday, you are going to feel completely equipped to run with this thing. And the first step in that I mentioned is reflecting. So it's really important that we look back. And the reason why we look back, it's funny. I said, you got to get over it. You got to get over 2019. And that's true. You have to emotionally get over 2019. But you also have to learn from 2019. And so if you were around for part of the year, maybe all of the year, a portion of the year, you probably have some experience from your Zaya world to reflect on and to think about what worked and what didn't work and what should I change. And sometimes we forget to do that and we jump right into the planning of here's what I want to do this year without really giving this adequate time. So that's what we're going to do to start things off. So the way this activity is going to work, hopefully everybody has their little sheet here. Mine's all crinkled and there's notes all over it, but this document that I sent out today, if you pull that out and have it in front of you, we're actually going to break down these questions and spend some time on this call working through it together. So let's go into reflection mode, and we're going to take about 3 minutes here, and I would love for you to look at these first 3 questions of what worked for you in 2019. What were some of your successes? What do you feel like you were really good at? What did you love doing? Like, what was that thing that every day you wanted to do it first because it brought you joy and it made you happy? And finally, where do you feel like your biggest moneymaker was? So let's kind of reflect on those 3 questions. Now, you might want to spend more than 3 minutes on these. So try to kind of divide up your time just for this particular exercise. You might want to revisit these later though. But I'll set my little timer and we'll all take some time and then we'll come back together. Alrighty?
Kim, just in case somebody doesn't have it printed, can you put that screen up instead of your face or screen share and put the questions up there just in case?
Yep. Let me... Is that helpful to you guys? Is it okay if I don't go full screen? Okay, we'll take about 30 more seconds on this one.
Those raspberries are no good?
They're moldy.
Somebody's raspberries are moldy. Okay, I know you probably could keep writing because I know I could. But for sake of this exercise, we are going to move on. But before we do, I'm wondering if there's one person who's eager to share, who would like to share. And throughout this, I'm going to ask each time if there's somebody who wants to share. And that's simply because I think if you're having a hard time coming up with things, it's nice to hear what someone else has come up with. And so I can't see my chat screen with when I screen share like this. I don't know how to, so I might miss it if you type it. So if somebody's willing to share just their major takeaway or thought from this section, like what were you good at? Where do you feel like your focus was? I'd love to hear from somebody. So you can just chime in. I know you guys are all really good at this, so.
I'll go ahead and go if nobody wants to. I actually went through this exercise. Is there anyone else that wanted to share? Because I would rather have someone else share, but if nobody's brave enough, I'm happy to start.
Okay, well, what brought me the most joy, it's kind of silly, but it was the sparkle pants. So what I was thinking about that is that it's what sets us apart from like all the rest is our unique fashion and style. And I love that. And that's something to get really pumped about. And I'm a personal trainer, and that's what makes me stand out from the rest is I always look different than everyone else in the gym. So that's like one thing that I can get more excited about to pump people up and really put an emphasis on. In Grand Prairie, where I'm from, it's like all oil community. So they want like the new best thing, right? So I think it's something, I don't know, really good to get excited about.
Yeah, I love that.
And they look awesome.
You're one of the lucky few with the red pants. You know what? I think that speaks to a really big theme of the product, right? Like the product, it brings you joy. And for a lot of people, talking about our product is something that they're very good at. And I think we need to identify what we're good at and what we're passionate about and then capitalize on it. Like that's the main point of this exercise. If you are into product, girl, talking about products can make you a lot of money. Okay. So talk about the product because you can do it authentically. So I love that. Okay, I wish we could hear from more people, but we're going to have to keep on rolling. So let's move into the second section called Lessons Learned. And I instinctively wanted to write what didn't work in 2019, but I feel like lessons learned is really the way we look at it, right? So think about what didn't go so well. Did you have something that you would deem an epic fail? What was hard that you tried to accomplish in 2019? What might need improvement? And then finally, this one's kind of tough, but what's holding you back? Can you identify something that was holding you back this past year? So let's take 3 minutes and process those. Okay. Does anybody else think that what is holding you back question is a tough one? That's not an easy question to answer. So does anybody have any ahas from this section they're willing to share with the group? This is a tough one. You got to really put yourself out there to talk about this one, right?
I can share.
Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah. So, when we very first start and you go through your list of who you would love to work with, and that's a hard list to start with anyways. And you kind of go through your friends list on Facebook and who you would. And there was definitely people that I was like, they would be so good at it. They'd be so fun. But I just totally could not message them. I'd write it and then I'd erase it and then I'd write it and erase it. And so I think that is definitely something that I'd like to improve on is my self-confidence in sharing this because it is such a gift and so much fun. And, that is definitely so what's holding me back is definitely myself being turned down or judged for, you know, asking them if they want to join. So that is mine.
Thank you. I can relate. I'm actually curious on that. What is holding you back? By show of hands, if you're willing to answer, like how many of you wrote something to do with yourself? Right? Like that's what it always is, right? It's something that it's some choice that we're making that we have to choose to stop making, right? And when I originally read that question, I didn't have an answer. And then as I wrote, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I just have to change my mind, right? And then change my behaviors. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so we've reflected on what we feel really good about from 2019, and we've reflected on what we think we might need to improve upon, right? Now, I think it's really important, like I said, to really focus on both of those things as we move forward, because you definitely want to capitalize on what you're good at, and where you feel like you have weakness, you really need to look into it. Like, do I want to improve in that area, or is that area not really that important, right? So these are things to be very conscious of as you're goal setting moving forward. So step 2 in the process is looking at where are you right now. We've got to know our starting point, right? And I actually got this exercise. Was everybody able to find the wheel? Here's what the wheel looks like. I can actually pull this up too. Let's see if I can find it. This wheel came from Chrissy. Here we go. Chrissy Tagger, our upline. And she has this brilliant way of just making something really simple. And that's exactly what this wheel is. It is looking at the 5 areas in our business that are basically our standards for performance, and then analyzing where am I compared to where I want to be. Now, what I love about this wheel is there's a flip side, and see, I've actually folded mine. So you can see the life side on one side and the Zaya side on the other. I've got to work on the life side of my wheel. And for sake of time, we're actually not going to talk about the life side on this call. But I think it's really useful because we all know that you cannot have a successful business and a successful year in any way if you're not looking at the whole picture, right? Like, believe me when I say, I know there's way more to your goal setting for 2020 than your Zaya business. Your whole world is part of that. So I think this is really helpful in looking at the larger piece of the picture. But for now, we're going to focus on the Zaya piece. And what she did was dissected these 5 areas: recruiting, sales, booking, marketing, and financial. And I wanted to give you a couple quick definitions. Marketing would be basically like your social media efforts, your VIP customer group, your Instagram and business accounts. And financial would be your paycheck. Are you bringing in the amount of money that you hoped you would bring in for the year or a month by month? So what you do with this exercise is I used 2 different colors of pins when I did it, but it really, the whole point is you mark where you want to be. And let's be real, likely where you want to be is like at a high score all the way around, right? And these little tick marks count as a score. So every tick mark would be 1, 2 through 10. So you can just put a little dot on the tick mark that represents where you want to be in all of these areas. Now, most of us would assume, oh yeah, of course, I want to be at a 10 all the way around. But the more I thought about that, I was like, well, you know what? Actually, I'm a little more focused on this area. And actually, I kind of would settle for an 8 or a 9 in this area. So there is some flexibility with what you want and where you want to be. But what's really important is then scoring yourself, right? Right now, today, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at in terms of recruiting? Where are you at in terms of your personal sales? Where are you in terms of keeping a full calendar and having the bookings you want? How are you with your social media? And are your paychecks everything you wish they were? So let's take 5 minutes. I hope that I made that make sense. But let's take, maybe 3 or 4, maybe more like 4 minutes. And fill out this wheel where you want to be versus where you are. And as you connect the dots like this, you're going to see, like, when it jots in where your scores are lower, it's going to be really obvious. Like, okay, it looks like for me, I'll be a very candid person for you guys to always talk to. Social media, my line goes way in. Like, I really need to up my marketing game, and I know that. So maybe you're aware of these things, but maybe it'll be a nice visual to help reveal it to you. And then the question on step 2 is looking at your wheel. What do you see in your results? Where are you thriving? Where do you want to grow? Where do you think you should focus this year? So does that make sense to everybody, the way the wheel works? Did I explain that okay? Okay, so let's take a few minutes and look at the wheel and jot down our thoughts. Okay, as we're finishing up on this one, I know some of you might still be jotting stuff down, but is anyone willing to share their biggest takeaway from their Zio wheel? Was anything really obvious to anyone?
Recruiting is like going to make booking events is going to make everything better on my chart. So as long as I book like, I don't know, 8 to 10 events in a month, then I'm going to be able to recruit people more. My money's going to go up. Well, it might not help with the marketing, but everything else will go up, and I'm okay with that because I'm not so good with social and stuff, and that can come after I get everything else, in check. So I thought that was a big one, and Kelly helped me with that a little bit. So, yeah. is a good tip.
Yeah, it's a brilliant observation because it's so true. It's all about filling your funnel, you guys. It's all about filling your funnel. And I really think the two ways we do that are through our marketing and our events, right? Those are kind of the two. One is a little quicker turnover than the other, though. Booking events is the fastest way to build a team because you're making face-to-face connections with people. So you are so smart for identifying that that's where your focus needs to be. Because if you have big goals, especially if they're income related, yeah, you're right. That's where the money is. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. So hopefully this wheel can serve as, I guess, kind of the foundation for thinking about where you want to put your focus. So step 3 is, where do you want to go? And I love this step because anybody who's gotten to know me knows I'm a dreamer. And you know what's funny? The past couple of months, I think I've gotten behind on my own dreaming. And this activity was just even putting this together was so good for me because it reminded me how important it is to dream. And I'm like, Kim, if you're going to get on this call and lecture people about dreaming, you better be dreaming, girl. And so that is what I want to encourage every single one of us to do, to shamelessly dream on this bottom half of this piece of paper. Like, what at the end of 2020, if we are sitting here 1 year from now and all of your dreams came true from the year, if everything that you wanted with your business and even your life, this is going to branch into your life too. You decide where the boundaries are. But what does it look like? What does it feel like? Where are you? What are you doing? And maybe you want to put numbers down. Maybe it's just more circumstantial, but just use this space and this page to just brain dump everything. And I really, really, really hope that we can all embrace this idea that the sky is the limit here. And you don't even have to show anybody this half a piece of paper. But if it's in your heart for any way, in any degree, write it down. Don't be afraid of what's possible, because we live by the philosophy that everything's possible, right? That's not just our team, that's Zaya in general. So let's dream big. Let's do what we say we do for the next 3 minutes or so and put it all down. Okay, as we tie up that brain dumping session, I think that what we have to be able to do from that is decipher what is it like, what's the connecting piece in there, right? Like, as you look at what you wrote, what's the theme? What's the main thing? What's the big picture goal? And the big picture goal can be really overwhelming, right? The big picture goal, it stretches out over the next 12 months. It may seem crazy to say it out loud and to put it into one sentence, but it's probably in there, right? Like there's probably something very obvious written in there that is the theme of what you wrote. And what you need to do is write that down as your 2020 Dream Big goal. So that's at the top of the next sheet here. My 2020 Dream Big goal is, and be brave and write it down. Okay, who wants to share their Dream Big goal? Does anybody want to throw it out there?
I will.
Okay, Jamie,
I
thank you.
hope someone else will too. But in my 17 years in direct sales, I never hit $100,000 in commissions. And that blew my mind, like thinking about that. Like I always thought I was going to get there and that it would happen every year, and it never did. And so my goal is to make $100,000 this year in Zaya. And I believe that I can in my second year in this business, even though I was in another company for 7 years.
I love it.
So I hope you guys have some big goals like that.
I love it, love it, love it. Okay, I know I said only one, but does anybody else want to throw one out there? I love hearing people's goals. It gets me all giddy. It's scary. I know it's hard, you guys. If you don't want to, it's okay. But if you have any itch in you to share, that's probably a nudge that you need to put it out there.
Well, with Zaya and the other business I'm doing, I want to make $10,000 a month. That is like my goal. And so I'm really excited so that I can travel and do all the fun things I want to do and provide for my family and stuff like that.
Nice, nice.
Maybe like pay off part of my truck and stuff like that. That's all mine, nobody else's. Yeah, it feels good. Yeah.
I love it. A lot of times our goals are financial, right? A lot of times they're numbers. So if you're kind of struggling to put a label on your goal, you know, it doesn't have to be a numerical thing, right? It doesn't have to be driven by finance or recognition, but it often is. So you'll hear us talk about that more. If that doesn't speak to you, that's okay too. Yours might be completely different. It might not be quantifiable at all. But for most of us who are on this call right now, we're probably trying to build a business. And so your large goal is probably going to look something like income or rank or maybe volume. So those are just some ideas, maybe a number of recruits or new team members for the year. So those are just some ideas if you're struggling with putting your goal into words. I think it's going to be whatever speaks to you. It's whatever lights a fire in you. Like when you say it, if that's like where your brain always is, oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, that'd be awesome. Then that's it. That's your dream big goal. Now we all know that like that's a big, you gotta like take that big piece of pie and you gotta break it down, right? Because if we just focus on the big picture, it's gonna feel like we're climbing up this massive mountain all year. So the next thing that we have to do is determine what are the milestones along the way. Now we could make this a really drawn out session where we figure out the whole year, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna talk about the first milestone. We're gonna look at the first quarter. We're gonna look at the next 3 months from January 1st to March 31st. What is the thing that will happen in those 90 or 91 or whatever days that will help you take your first step towards that larger goal? Now, some examples of what this may be. It could have to do with the Jamaica trip. The Jamaica trip happens to fall in that time. Maybe the Jamaica trip doesn't speak to you. We all know if you did earn the Jamaica trip, you would probably be working towards a larger paycheck and rank advancement, right? So that's an example of something that could be a milestone. It could be a lower rank promotion, like maybe you want to get to director by the end of March, or executive, or it could be a paycheck amount. Like if you want to get to 10,000, maybe by March you want to know that you're at 3,000, or those are just some examples. So let's take a couple of minutes and look at what that first milestone goal in getting to that bigger goal will be. And then go ahead and write down where it says my first quarter goal for 2020. Once you've identified it, go ahead and write it down there. What is the first quarter goal, the first milestone for you this year? Is anybody ready to share their first quarter goal? Any takers on that?
One thing I wanted to remind people of, if you weren't aware of this in your back office, you can look up what your party average is over the course of however many parties you want to go back and look. So if you're thinking, okay, I know I need to, or my goal is to sell 2,400, or my goal is to sell, whatever, 5,000 for the month, you can go back and go, okay, my average party is 600, so I need to hold, this many parties. So that's really helpful when you're looking at things realistically, because sometimes we don't know how to get to the number. So just know that you can look that up under some of the stats in your back office. For me, I look at the Jamaica trip, and I'm like, okay, I need to do more than that. So my goal to start on that path towards 100,000 is 5,000 PV in January, February, and March. And that's something that Kelly has really talked about since the day she started. And that's what she did for. And she didn't always hit it every single month, but that was her goal: 5 new reps and 5,000 PV. So great goal to aim for, especially when you're going for bigger numbers.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. And the next question, actually, Jamie, that's a great tip about the party averages, because the next question actually leads into that. Because, right, we've got these goals, but the goals don't mean anything if you don't know how to measure them, right? Like, we know we want a title or a paycheck, but what does it actually take? And this question specifically might take more time than what we have tonight. And it actually might take a one-on-one call with your upline sponsor, because maybe you're familiar with these terms and the metrics, and maybe you're brand new to direct sales and you're just like, I don't even know how to start to do this. So for right now, we can take some time, but let's say your first quarter goal is the Jamaica trip, right? So it's pretty easy for you to know what your business metrics need to be to make that happen. You need to hit the 3x4 every month, right? And maybe you want to do more than that based on your goal for Jamaica. Maybe it is an income based on your personal sales, and you're going to be earning 28%. And so this is how much you want to sell every month. But I think it's really important to look at the metrics of number of parties or bookings that you have, number of new team members that's joining your team, and then of course your personal volume, which is directly tied to your parties, and your paycheck amounts, etc., to figure out, okay, how do I actually measure my first quarter goal? So let's take a couple of minutes and try to just put some ideas down as to what measurements you may use for that goal. And you know what, since we're kind of running out of time here, let's just kind of run this time right into the next question, which is, what are the daily activities that will help you attain those numbers? So you know you need to be booking parties. Well, what do you do to book parties? You reach out to people, right? You market on social media. So kind of try to identify what are the daily process actions that you take so that you can hit those metrics. Would anybody mind sharing a couple of those daily activities that they came up with?
I can share.
Great.
So I did more reach outs and actually follow through with them. And I need to reach out to gym pop or to do gyms. I need to get outside of our network. I feel like we're kind of at a standstill right now with, like who we've been reaching out to. So I have goals to reach out to new gyms, follow-ups, and then also I really need to be intentional with social media. Like I feel like you can spend hours looking for stuff or looking for self-development or images or what I should be posting, and I need to be intentional with that. And I kind of want a theme for our VIP group. I feel like sometimes you're just posting clothes, and I'd like to turn it into more of like a intention, something going on in there other than just Zaya.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's a whole nother training, right? But so true. Okay, awesome. So those are some great examples of what the daily actions are. And so that takes us right into step 4, which is, what is your daily action plan? Okay. So here's the thing about daily activities. I am guilty as can be of this, so I'll be the first to tell you there are things that I should do every day that I sometimes don't do because they're not necessary. Following up with my customers from last week's party, it's not necessary, right? Nothing horrible is going to happen if I don't do it, right? Maybe posting for the party that I have starting today, that is necessary. There's no way I'm not going to do that, right? That has to happen. Showing up for the event that I have tonight is necessary. I'm going to do that. I don't need to remind myself to do those things because they're necessary. But there are things that are not necessary but are actually critical in growing. So they're not necessary to just get through the day, but they're necessary to grow. And we tend to avoid them sometimes. For me, it can definitely be customer follow-up and posting on social media. And those are the two things. When I look at the holes in my business, this is just me being vulnerable with you guys, that's where the holes are, right? That's where everything that I don't have that I want is right there in those places. So I have to be really honest with myself. Like, what do I need to do every day that I don't do right now consistently to get me from here to here? Because if I keep doing the same thing, I'm not going to go up here. I'm going to keep going here. So that is, I think, the take home from this entire thing. Like, we've got the big goal, we've got the quarterly goal. Now what we need to identify is what are the first 3 things that you're going to do when you sit down to work every day. What are your first 3? Now, it doesn't mean you're only going to do 3 things, because you're going to do the necessary things too. But what are the 3 things that you maybe avoid? What are the 3 things that you know you should be doing? What are the 3 things that are your potential money makers? How do you capitalize on a strength you have? Where do you fill in a gap? And so we'll take our last couple of minutes here and kind of go through these questions of what do you love doing? What do you dislike doing? What do you waste time on? Keeping your strengths and weaknesses in mind, what can you capitalize on? And overall, the whole point of this is, what do you put off knowing that it could bring you the most value? And then what are your top 3, like your first 3? What are those 3 small things that you will prioritize for the next 90 days to be the first thing you do when you sit down to work for the day? So let's take a few minutes and go through that. As you're developing your first 3, you'll definitely want to ask yourself, can I do these things? Like, are these reasonable? Is this something I can consistently do? And then will you do them, right? Because the last thing that we want to do is put something on this list and set yourself up for failure that you know you're not going to do, right? So the idea of this is to stretch yourself, but it's also to set tiny, reasonable process goals, because the compound effect will come into play. If you do enough tiny things over and over and over again that are the right things, they will produce a massive result. The problem is, most of us myself included, we don't always stick with the tiny things long enough to see the payout. So the idea is this needs to feel doable to you. This needs to feel like, yep, I can and will do this every day or 5 days a week. And believe it or not, even if the numbers are smaller, for instance, I'll give you a good example, right? We often say 10 reach outs a day. 10 reach outs a day is an excellent goal. I've learned through myself that I will do 10 reach outs, but I probably won't do them 5 days a week. But could I do 5 reach outs 5 days a week? For sure. And there's a really good chance I'm going to do more than 5. But mentally, if I'm sitting down to do 5, I'll probably keep going because I'm already in the zone. But it's not as intimidating to sit down and start in the first place, right? That's just something I've learned about myself. So the goals that you set, they kind of need to make you uncomfortable, but they can't make you so uncomfortable that you're paralyzed and you don't do it. So these 3 things really need to feel manageable to you, and you need to be seriously committed to them. So nobody's going to judge how large or small they are. It's just a matter of you being consistent with them. So is anybody willing to share their first 3? Does anybody have a first 3 developed that they would like to give us as an example?
I'm still working on my brain dump.
I know, girl. It's not enough time, is it? It's already 9:07 too. I should have known I couldn't do it in an hour, and I feel like we cut it off fast. I know. Well, I can give you guys mine as an example if you think that would be helpful. I had some more time to process this, right? So I had an unfair advantage. I need to make a meaningful social media post every day. It could be a story. It could be on my business page. It could be in my group. I just need to be in the habit of touching base with social media every day. That's number 1. Number 2, 5 reach outs every day. Customer follow-up, customer service, connections with gyms, whatever they may be, 5 intentional reach outs about my business. And number 3 is actually 10 minutes of reading or training. Here's something I put off, you guys. I develop a lot of trainings and take part in a lot of trainings. And sometimes when I have a chance to be the spectator in a training, I feel like I don't have time for it. And that is such a massive mistake that I make when I don't feed into my own personal development. And so I need to make it a priority every day for 10 minutes to feed my brain rather than focusing on doing things in other places for other people. So those are my first 3. Should take me 20 minutes or less to do those things. It's not that big of a deal, right? I just need to do it. So hopefully that example is helpful. Everybody's is going to look different, and depending on what you want out of your business, they're going to take more or less time. So just know it's a judge-free zone. Like, we expect it all to look different because we expect all the goals to look different. And your upline sponsor or your upline director is going to be an incredible resource to you to process through this. We realize that this is a lot, and you're probably going to feel like a little like, what just happened? And I don't even know exactly what I'm thinking. That's why hopefully you'll revisit these papers in the morning. You'll set up a call with your upline and talk through them with her, and seek any support or guidance that you need in finishing out setting the goals. And then hopefully by tomorrow night, you've had some time to chew on it all, and you can hop on with Jamie and figure out what comes next with actually putting these action steps into play. So, all right, 9:09.
Can I share one thing just to finish?
Yes, of course.
This was awesome, Kim. Thank you so much for taking the time to put it all together. It's so good to be able to work on our business. And this is really what I wanted to share. I am part of this other really great networking and training group. And our trainer always says you have to work in your business, but you also need to take time to work on your business. So what working in your business is making the booking calls, it's holding the parties, it's doing that. It's the stuff that we do all the time. Working on your business is this, what we're doing right now. It's taking time to goal set, to think about what we really want out of our business. It's taking time for personal development. Both are so important. If we never take time to work on our business, to get better, to figure out what we really want, we're going to end up being in the same place and we're going to feel like we're spinning our wheels. So continue to work in your business daily, but make sure you schedule time to work on your business so that you can grow your business even bigger.
I love it. Does anybody have any questions as we wrap things up tonight? No? Okay, well, we're here. If you sleep on it tonight and you wake up with something you want to talk through or process, or if you have any questions for us, let us know. Jamie and I are both happy to help you in any way we can. So thank you guys. You guys, I know taking an hour and 10 minutes out of your night, it's precious time. And I, number one, appreciate you. And number two, applaud you, because it's a big deal. This shows that you care. This is dedication. So give yourself a pat on the back for that, for sure.
And encourage your team members to come back and watch the playback and set aside this to be able to work on their businesses as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place.
Hey, bye.
Bye, everybody.